All right, what's up, everybody? Ballet at Brand. We got the normal stream today, Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Today we got a lot of information actually to cover. So there's new information on Pulse. There's new information on Hex. There's been a lot of great live streams. Big Pep did a wonderful live stream the other day. And then actually shout out to Blue Bum, John Katz. He did a amazing stream with Gunther. And Gunther discovered some new information on Hex. He's almost like the silver, the antidote, but his own form and his own style, right? And so he did some skimming through the origin address and found out a lot of pertinent information in regards to how much the OA holds cumulatively, and then almost how much the actual percentage of stakes they own, which is about 18% out of 100% of stakers. So without further ado, I'm going to just play the intro real quick. It's like a 90-second intro. That way I can share out the link. And let me just do that now real quick, and I'll see y'all in about 90 seconds.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, be sure to share, be sure to comment. Yeah. Say hey. Say hey. Say hey. Say hey. Say hey. Motherfucking jackpot. We still jackpot, bitch!
Thank you, Richard, for creating and founding the most amazing and disruptive financial technology cryptocurrency ever. Thank you, sir. And nice streams, Mr. Ballet at Brand.
Okay, so what's up, everybody? Ballet at Brand got the intro done. So today we got a very special stream and special, just a little video and clip. So today I'll be having Gerardo. He's a newer Hexican that's just started making content about 3 weeks ago, and he's kind of more in the quantitative analysis type of person. And so shout out to him. He'll be coming on in about 27 minutes, so about 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. We'll have him come on. The only thing that I'll let you know ahead of time is he's also going to be streaming on Restream.io and OBS. So I'm just hoping that with the StreamYard link that I sent him, everything will work fine. We never got to test everything before, so hoping everything goes good, no feedback or anything like that. But he'll be coming on. We'll be able to hear his story from the research that I've done on him so far. I know he's been in crypto since like 2017 and then got into Hex early. So he does some great work similar to Whales Only and kind of Kareem, kind of the quantitative side of things. So he'll be coming on. So shout out to him for that. All right, so let's just get into it real quick. We'll start off with the chat, and then we'll go over some of the really cool information that Gunther discovered. So Nuzdarov says, "Hey, Bran, we love news." Exactly. I mean, there's lots of news, right? There's news regarding Hexican.Vegas. Maddie did a great stream with Luis Salazar's brother. I think his channel is like freedom.tv, and lots more to cover. Marcin_Hexican for life. Good to see you. Brennan, hey, how's it going? Piston Broke, Cuatro Cinco. Benny Bills, good vibes. What's good, Bran? Just stopping in to say hello. Running errands all day. Sounds good, man. Safe travels. Let's see. Don't panic. How's it going? He did a great, actually, friendly interview / debate with another person that was in Hex, I believe, and did a pretty good job of describing the use case and the value add that Hex brings. Alex K says popcorn at Bitcoin dump. Yes, we'll definitely be covering that. Richard, he's talked about parabolas a lot, and obviously every market cycle can be different from one to the next. But from some of the photos that Richard's posted lately, he's kind of been talking about the market just in general, the crypto market in general, having a lot of topping signals and whatnot. So who knows, we might be going down for a short leg down and maybe another leg up. No one really knows there, but we'll cover some information that Richard's posted there. There's lots more news on PulseChain. Richard's talked about, to spoil it a little bit, we'll read the pinned message, but he's already got a testnet up, and he's got blocks being mined on the testnet, and kind of the PulseChain project itself running on testnet successfully. So that's actually really exciting, because I know at the end of the month, Richard's going to be joining the ladies of Hex, and he's going to be announcing some information, at least that he's mentioned, at the end of the month. So Alex K says, give us some Naga. Yes, that's the intro. Hope you like it. Shout out to Joe Hexotic for that. Brandon, little winky face. Trustless Shelterin. El Hexidente. Yep. Can't wait to see you in Vegas. I know we didn't get to hang out, but we'll definitely be able to hang out in Vegas. So that's actually less than 2 months from now. It's from yesterday. It was exactly 2 months. 2 months from now. So that'll be awesome. I'll be staying at the Aria. I know some of the other Hexicans are staying at the Bellagio or the Excalibur or an Airbnb, whatever room accommodations that you can make. But I'll be staying at the Aria. So for anyone that can, make it to the event, I hope to see everyone that can make it. David Morales, how's it going? Yep. So yeah, Gerardo, he'll be joining in about 23 minutes from now. I'm excited to hear more about his story. And then Marcavelli says Hex pre-like. So yep, hope everyone's doing well. Pabalaba, Duke of Booze, too low. Okay, so let's get right into it, right? There's so much to cover in such little time. And then before I go into it, Johnny says, Chaos Experience says, Bran, he is our man. If he can't tell you no, no one can. That's true. All right, let's get into it. I also do have a clip of a Blue Bum and Gunther yesterday talking about, how in Staker.app there's the leaks, right? There's Tinkering Turtle, there's the Shy Shrimp, there's the whole 9 yards. There actually is a Poseidon when you combine some of the whale addresses, which makes up the origin address. And so that's a clip that I made actually today on my channel. We can maybe cover that hopefully before Gerald gets in here, or Gerard, I mean. All right, let's get into it. So we'll start off with this. So this is thanks to Gunther. This is just his audit that he's done on the origin address. But I think it's really pertinent and it's really important because, especially Johnny Chaos. I mean, I've got his chat highlighted here. He's kind of the one that's talked about right now because a lot of Hexicans in the adoption amplifier, they got good deals, right? They got diamonds for the price of pennies. Well, then they think when Hex hits 5 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents, or even 2 cents, that it's a good time to sell or that it might be overvalued. When in reality, you were just getting a really good deal and you were just at the bottom of the actual price appreciation. So shout out to Johnny for his analogies. I know Bitcoin, even Gunther had mentioned in his interview with Blue Bum that kind of his price prediction, right? So we've heard Whales Only kind of talk about $10 Hex more sooner than later, as far as maybe within the next 365 days, just hypothetically. And then Gunther comes out with like a $30 price prediction. And obviously none of it's financial advice. It's all just speculation. But the thing that I didn't know specifically about the Bitcoin history, before we get into that real quick. So Gunther talked about Bitcoin. We all know that it's gone up 6 million X, right? That's from 1 penny. But Bitcoin has actually been lower than a penny. And so Gunther kind of mentioned that it went from lower than a penny all the way to $30 in 1 year. And why not Hex? So I thought that was pretty interesting when you factor in the liquidation, or not the liquidation, but the liquidity in Hex. Right now, it's similar to when Bitcoin was early on, where the liquidity was the lowest. Richard mentioned the opportunity is the greatest when the liquidity is the lowest, because whether you're buying or selling on the market, you're going to kind of have an impact, and that's good for people. Volatility is good. All right, so let's get into it. So this was really cool. It blew my mind. So we've always speculated that the origin address, right, that we know from the contract address and we know from just staking habits that it owns a lot of Hex, or that it kind of has some T-shares in the game as well. But let's just cover the tweet itself. All right, so circulating Hex is 569,854,300,367. I'm not going to cover all the numbers, but we'll just say that out of 90% of the circulating, about 10% is staked. The origin address itself, let's see here. We'll skip to the liquid Hex because this was kind of like the light bulb moment. So the OA, it's got about 95.56 of the liquid Hex, and then the rest is about 4.44%. And so when you look at say Uniswap.info or even app.oneinch.io, I believe, when you look at kind of what the price that you're getting for Hex is, you can see that Hex is actually more scarce than what I initially thought. And if an entity or multiple entities owns about 95% of the liquid, then it really goes to show you that, kind of like Johnny mentions, that we really do have diamonds. And right now the price is just so low, but we're going to have significant price discovery, which, might have something like Bitcoin happen, where it goes from less than a penny to $30. Okay, so as far as T-shares go, right, the origin address T-shares. So the origin address owns 2 million T-shares, which is about 18.03%. And then the user T-shares is about 81.97. So I thought that was pretty cool. And that's pretty much all I want to cover that right there. So this pink chart is pretty cool to look at. If we scroll at some of the comments, Blue Bum, he's already mentioned that Gunther was going to be on his show, which is right here. I thought that was really good. And so shout out to Blue Bum. I know he's done a couple of streams lately, which I thought were really well done. And it's cool to see another Hexican streamer, right? Some people, they've been in Hex for the longest time, and they say, well, oh, I don't want to get into streaming because there's already so many streamers. And what difference can I make, or what value can I add compared to all the other Hexicans? And I just think that, people like Blue Bum, he had normally been joining the Unwrecked Pirate show or, some of the other Hexican shows. And it's just cool to see when other people start their own initiative and they start streaming on their own. So shout out to Blue Bum. Yep, Chaos Experience says, Bitcoin didn't do anything in the first 500 days. We are just over 500 days old. Yeah, that's a great perspective. That's a really good perspective. Nazdarov says, too low. Those stakes will be copied to PulseChain. So yes, pretty special. And we'll get into some PulseChain information because that's doing really well too. Johnny says, Richard helped make that $30 top and wrote it all the way back down. Yeah, I remember Richard saying that. And I didn't realize it had gone from a penny all the way to $30. But I think when it went to $30, it dropped down to like $2 from what I remember. So that's pretty impressive. And just in general, not only in markets, but in cryptocurrency, it seems that when people first get in, it's when the fear of missing out is the highest, right? When the FOMO is the highest, and you feel like if you don't get on board that you're going to miss out. So that's usually what happens. Even it happened kind of in my experience, like my major buys were in December 2017, even though I had been buying in like March and April 2017 at that time. Sometimes your emotions can get the best of you. So that's a very good point that he mentions. Let's see. Too Low says, do addresses with active stakes get anything special for PulseChain? So as far as PulseChain itself goes, Richard's kind of mentioned that there could be a single token model or a dual token model, and more likely it's going to be the latter, a dual token model. But from what Richard can guarantee, I shouldn't say guarantee, but from what he's talked about being like 99% sure of, it seems, is that when when you have a hard fork of Ethereum and when you've got a copy of the system state, that the actual hex that you have liquid and the hex that you have staked is going to copy over. And Richard's also mentioned that all of the ERC20 tokens could be copied over as well. I know even with Blue Bum and Gunther, they were kind of speculating about the USDC and DAI and stuff like that. Honestly, I don't want to speculate on that too much, just because it's really up in the air whether something like that gets considered or just gets ignored or removed from the list that gets copied over. But I think either way, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great opportunity for everyone, because right now Richard kind of mentions like not only hexicans that are using the S-load function and that are staking and swapping are getting affected by Ethereum fees, but some of the other people as well on ERC20. So that's pretty cool. Also, the actual gas fees, there was like from a 10 million to I think 15 million gas change that Ethereum just did, along with the EIP 2929, something like that, 1529. So the gas fees are actually a little bit lower than before from what I've done research over on this weekend. Nazdarov says, I think OA is one rank bigger than Poseidon. Yeah, I mean, if you look back in the photo that I was just covering, it said about 18% of the total T-shares is what all of the collective OA addresses hold. So that's almost like 2 Poseidons, right? That's like 1.8 Poseidons. So yeah, that's definitely significant amount of shares. And Richard also kind of talks about it, and so did Blue Bum. But when you've got decentralization, sometimes people think that there's a difference between like network centralization and like network / consensus and like economic, right? So people like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or Bill Gates, they all own a lot of percentage of the shares in the stocks, right? And it's similar with Hex, where we see the origin address owns collectively like 95 point something % of all the liquid. And as long as it's not dumping on your heads, which it's never done, then that is positive for price pressure. And if anything, like Gunther mentioned, it's kind of the ERC20 tokens, or sorry, the ERC20 addresses that aren't the OA could be more susceptible to dumping on the market because maybe they want to realize a profit or maybe they need the money. David says, I will be staying local or staying with a local in Vegas. Hey, that's awesome. Okay. Ryan, hey, hope you're doing well. It was cool to stream with you in Identity Block the other day. Says, sup, everyone. He actually also had a meetup with Patrick Hex Lion and Gary Fundingjim. So shout out to you guys. Archie S. Tryon Buia says, I'm all in for Hex. That's awesome. Happy to hear that. Ryan Lopez, what's up, bro? Okay, and then we'll cover this real quick too. Nezdarov, thanks. I'm wondering, I think it's possible the liquid hex on Ethereum will be sold to buy PulseChain on PulseChain Hex. If this happens, Hex stakes on Ethereum will be stuck, and if PulseChain takes over, can dump. I mean, I don't know. I mean, anything could happen, right? That's all just speculation at the end of the day. But I don't see the OA selling the ETH hex to compromise the ETH price and then force people to go over to ETH Pulse. I don't know. I don't see that personally, but who knows? We haven't really seen much selling or anything like that from the OA itself. So most likely, in my guess, Richard kind of mentions that the 2 halves will make more than one, most likely. And instead of just choosing, like when you had Bitcoin and you had the Bitcoin Cash hard fork, instead of just choosing Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, if you held both of them, then that way you're not going to be absolutely screwed if you go 100% on one. So that's always something to consider, especially when you're getting something for free, which is what an airdrop or a fork kind of does. Yeah, it's up to you what you do with your hex. That's exactly right. I mean, if your liquid hex are going to be copied, that's great. If your stake hex are going to be copied, that's great. But other than that, we don't really know a whole bunch. If Gunther likes a $30 hex, he's our man. Sorry, whales only. Yeah, that's funny. Okay, Hexican Sweat says something that I haven't really considered this the last time, but I've heard other people talk about this too. So who knows? It might be worth thinking about. But I have a feeling X will be able to be obtained with Hex and Ethereum. I would hope Hex gives you a bonus X when using Hex over Ethereum. This would prompt Hex price. Yeah, Johnny kind of talks about what I was mentioning earlier. Picking a chain, you have a 50% chance of being wrong. Keep both, and you can't pick wrong. That's exactly right. I mean, no one really knows at the end of the day what's going to happen. So if you can kind of just keep the bag that you already have, then you're not really losing out. All right, so let's get right into it. I don't know if Gerardo's going to join right on time, but we've got about 9 minutes until he said he wanted to join. So we'll kind of just go at it until then. Let's see. And okay, so I do kind of want to cover some of the PulseChain information. Let me just go over to here and make sure that everyone can see everything. Okay, cool. So that's the Telegram. Let's go up to the top right here. And so this is the pinned information that Richard has. But the thing that people might not know that Richard's been doing is he's been updating this actual pinned information. So he might have added information that you didn't realize that was there because you had read it once. All right, so we're going to read the whole thing, and bear with me for just a couple of minutes. All right, so it says, thought experiment. Instead of Pulse launching empty and forks of successful Ethereum projects launching on it and getting rich, Pulse goes live with the entire Ethereum system state, freeing all Ethereans from the high gas costs on Ethereum, reducing Ethereum fees by reducing the load on it, and rewarding the original developers, for instance, Uniswap. That would also include Tornado.cash, things like that. To save all the Ethereans, the supply of Pulse is 10,000 X'd and airdropped to only holders of X. Don't worry about X for now. All the wrapped Ethereum ERC20 pairs are now Pulse ERC20 pairs. This makes it likely that everyone that had any Ethereum will be able to transact with the free Pulse they get. And I know I've covered that before. That's similar. I never used it, but it's similar to like the Matic network for anyone that used that before, where you got like 0.01 or you got some amount of Matic that would make the fees pretty much free to transact. So that's awesome. What do all the ERC20 holders and Pulse holders do? How many decentralized apps have on-ramped and have working front ends? Do Pulse holders start accumulating all the ERC20s with their newfound wealth? Do ERC20 holders start dumping for Pulse? ERC20/ERC20 pairs should be fun to watch. What other exciting things happen? By the way, the code for the fork is already being written. Hex has nothing to do with Pulse. It's just another ERC20 that benefits from it. That's very important to consider. A lot of Hexicans are thinking that just because Richard made Hex and he made Pulse, that Pulse is going to somehow going to benefit Hexicans more than the other ERC20 token holders, and that's not necessarily true. Richard has mentioned that he exactly doesn't want that scenario to happen because he doesn't want PulseChain to be as gate-kept as Hex has been, right? So first and foremost, you must expect, you must expect no expectations of work from others. I think it would be smart for people to be able to sacrifice all kinds of crypto, but people can try and game the system, pushing up the price before they send. Let's see. So you want to use a time-weighted average price to prevent that. You lose your crypto, your sacrifice is noted, you mint your own X coin. X is not yet named. X is a political statement that you prefer fees in crypto be lower, and let's see, and are willing to sacrifice to prove you're serious. So that's kind of interesting. You're willing to sacrifice to prove you're serious. So maybe they are right about swapping 1 for X. That's definitely a possibility now that I read that. It also says projects like Pulse that want a nice set of people with a similar belief to send free stuff to can do so. X will have a bonding curve and other game theory parameters. It is important that Pulse launch at $0 value. That is also beneficial for tax implications, right? When it comes to airdrops, if you've got something that's, say, worth $100 a coin and you get 1,000 coins, well, then the implication is going to be based on the original, dollar price that it came out at. But if something can magically, and if Richard could possibly have something that starts at 0, then the implications may or may not be less. For instance, off the top of my head, I think X holders would get free Pulse at a 10,000 to 1 ratio. Compared to what Ethereum holders will get, most chains start off empty. We're using the 10,000 to 1 ratio to let everybody that's already on Ethereum be able to transact for free, basically. And that's a whole lot of ERC20 users. So last sentence, thanks for bearing with me. The largest airdrop in the history of man is a big deal. We can save a lot of Ethereum users and make Ethereum more valuable at the same time by getting its fees down. Okay, so thanks for bearing with me. I know that was a long read, but it was important to cover, right? When you talk about PulseChain, it's not just something like Richard mentioned that's going to just benefit Hexicans. That'll be a part of it, but also the other part is every other Ethereum being freed from those high gas fees. So that's really cool to see. And shout out to Richard for constantly innovating. He didn't just make a completed project like Hex in December 2019, but now he's developing solutions to everyone's problem, which is really cool. Yeah, Tim, I've been meaning to respond to your message. We'll definitely have to do a stream soon. I know I saw you on Discourse recently, and you mentioned that you kind of got a more comfortable and solid setup. So we'll definitely have to stream soon. I would look forward to that. He says, just got on. Good to see you, Ballet Brand. Good to see you too. David Morales, token X is called gas. Hey, bud, your voice is soft and soothing, especially when you talk Hex. Hey, appreciate it, Piston Broke. Okay, so I did make a clip earlier this morning from Gunther and Blue Bum, their live stream. And I actually kind of want to play it now just because I think it's very relevant, right? You go to Staker.app and you pull up all of the addresses, right? You see 0 Poseidons, you see it's either like 13 or 14 whales. I don't know right off bat, but you see about 13 or 14 whales, like X amount of sharks, 902 something dolphins. But I just want to cover something that explains that we actually do have a Poseidon in the community. So yeah, Gerardo, he actually says he's setting up the restream now. That's awesome. You have the StreamYard link. So like I said, my fingers are crossed that you can set up the restream successfully and then join the room, and that we can both stream at the same time and not have any issues. So hope that goes well. I look forward to hearing some of your analysis. Gerardo's got some great videos. He even had a recent video talking about Golden Cross of like the 50-day moving average and the 200-day, and when they cross to the upside and when they cross to the downside. So shout out to him for that. He's got some really good content, and everyone should follow him if they haven't already. But without further ado, since he's setting up that right now, we've got maybe like, I don't know, a minute and say 50 seconds worth of a clip that I have. Day 43 OG, hope you're doing well. Okay, so got share audio, and we got the clip right here. So does Hex have a Poseidon? Yes, Gunther explains. All right, let me full screen and we'll just skip the intro real quick here.
OA.
We'll see. Like, if you're looking at those on Staker.app, actually, I don't know. That's a good question, but I know if you take all of the stake positions of the addresses that the OA sent money to, and you combine them, the OA is actually Poseidon. There is a Poseidon, but you don't see it because it's spread across 11 different addresses that stake, and only those 11 addresses stake, by the way. That belong to the OA, only those 11 out of over 3,000 addresses, just 11 addresses state. So those, when you take that combination, it's 18%.
Sorry, can we just clarify that? So of those 11 addresses, the combined total makes that a Poseidon? Is that?
That's correct, 18%. But you don't see it in Staker.app because it's divided throughout 11 addresses, right? It's also smart too to have it divided like that. You might ask, well, why is it divided? I mean, like from my perspective, it's divided to divide the risk. You don't want everything sitting in one wallet. We're talking about 8 billion plus staked Hex, plus it all went through big payday, so it doubled its stack, right? So the interest is like over 8 billion. And you know, it's dominating T shares, 18% of T shares. So I mean, this is but yeah, there's other reasons too. It makes it harder to track, and it divides it up. It's more anonymous, you know, that kind of thing. So I think it's smart that it's not all in one address.
Okay, so yeah, that was Blue Bum and Gunther talking about some of the whale addresses actually being associated with the origin address, and as opposed to the origin address, who knows what it is, right? Who knows if it's an entity, if it's one person, if it's multiple entities, you know, multiple people. That really doesn't matter as much. Kind of what matters more so is behavior of what it does. So if it was selling directly on market, kind of like XRP does, then you might have problems. But without further adu, we do have Gerardo in the back room. Just going to wait a second for the, if he wants to turn the camera on, that's great. If not, no worries. Let me actually see if I can add him real quick. Hey, Gerardo, can you hear me okay?
Yo, yes, I can hear you, man. How's it going?
Awesome. Doing pretty good, man. Yeah, we just got the audio on. So, yeah, man, how you doing today?
Doing well. You know, I couldn't figure out how to get this restream thing going because I have an external camera. So, well, I guess we'll have to deal with this, how it is. But yeah, I was watching from the beginning. You got the intro pretty much right. Like I got into crypto in 2017, and yeah. So how are we gonna do this? You want to just lead with your questions? I know you kind of wanted to do interview style.
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of just play it as it goes. I mean, yeah, feel free to just tell people how you got into first, like I guess how you got into crypto, maybe a little bit about yourself, and then kind of where you're at now, how you got how you found out about Hex and the Hexican community. Feel free to just share as much as you want.
Sure. So I'll try to just point out some, I guess, highlights of my life, and then we'll kind of just piece it all together. I'm not the best at having telling a consistent narrative, I guess you could say.
No worries.
What's the word? What's the word? Chronological. That's the word I'm looking for. So I'll kind of be all over the place, but yeah. So I mean, right now I'm a graphic designer. I'm also a sales rep for a marketing agency. Oh, we have Outlet in the chat. Gerardo the Oracle is here to share his brains. Yeah, that's my buddy. So graphic designer, sales rep right now. I wasn't always like this. I got into Bitcoin in 2017 with the whole bubble. Everyone was hearing about it. Got wrecked, but that was probably a good lesson to be burned for my first time in crypto, because then I came into Hex in 2019, 2020, kind of with a different mindset, I guess. It's sort of like an analogy. If you lose in, say, I don't know, a boxing match or whatever, you come back with this new kind of fire, and you just
totally,
so I was watching Richard's streams for a while. I thought it was really cool what he was doing. I thought it was really cool that he was being transparent and honest about the fact that he was creating a coin designed to appreciate, because at the end of the day, that's really what people care about. And that's probably why people watch your stream, my stream. They really just want their bags to go up at the end of the day. Nothing wrong with that, right? That's one of the variables we can use to amplify our I guess, our influence in the world and our freedoms. So I mean, that's kind of a rant on how I got into crypto in 2017.
Oh no, please do. I mean, I totally agree with actually a point that you made that like when oftentimes, yeah, you mentioned kind of like trading or maybe buying a top and then kind of holding it, and then as it goes down, you don't really know what to do. And Richard kind of mentioned it, and you yourself even mentioned it too, that a lot of people, one of the mistakes that they do is like revenge trading, where so say maybe you lost like $10,000 because now you're holding something, and then now you try to make up that $10,000 of paper gains or actual money by trading, and then that can just lead into like a vicious cycle. So you're totally right about that.
By trading the random roulette of shit coins of any given market cycle, correct? T-shirt master. Giga Chad. Some people calling me Chad. I don't know how to feel about that. I think it's hilarious though, honestly.
Dude, it's cool. I mean, I know we chit-chatted a little bit in like a DM the other day, and that was really cool because it's cool that you were able to accommodate some time for the stream because, yeah, I've seen, first off, I found your videos. I've been following you for a while, but I didn't even know that you'd made videos, and then it was either Hex streamers or the separate channel that they have where they post all the different streamers. Anyways, they had posted one of your videos maybe like 3 weeks ago when you'd kind of started posting some of the like the Hex quantitative stuff. And I had seen that you had also had some workout videos too. So it's pretty cool to see just all of it, right? Kind of all around Hexican. When did you get into Hex by chance?
Yeah. So first of all, shout out to Hex streamers. And I think there's another one, Documenting Hex, because I was just getting like at most 100 views per video. And then once you guys started, thank you too. You share my content. Thanks to Brennan, like all you guys sharing the content is super cool. It's been blowing up my engagement, views, and you guys seem to like it. So I mean, I'm here doing it. But Hex, you said, when did I get in? Let's see. I believe I used some of my ether dust that I had laying around, threw it into the AA, and actually 2019. It was like day 2, 3, like the first few days. I even have a video which I found of me recording myself getting into the AA like on day 2 or 3. So I think that's a nice little keepsake for the future. But yeah, I dollar cost average pretty heavy 2020 before the mega pumps, which was kind of nice. And yeah, I mean, definitely made up all my wreckness from 2017 and more, like orders of magnitude. So happy about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you know, that's one of the really cool things I didn't know about. I didn't know that crypto could offer, and I didn't really know at the beginning that like when I first got into crypto, yeah, it was obviously altcoins first, and a lot of people had heard about Bitcoin. But long story short, I didn't know that the real opportunity and the real best mover's advantage was to kind of buy and hold. But that's if you're in something that's legitimate, right? Because if it's something that, say, in 2017 there was a lot of ICOs and a lot of promise tokens, well, then maybe the buying and holding was the right strategy, but you were practicing that strategy in a bad token, and maybe that's what happened. But it's cool that Hex kind of incentivizes that.
Right. As like Richard says often, as long as it has product market fit, right, then holding is probably the best strategy. And I saw this thing on Twitter the other day. It was some statistics on which coins from previous blow off tops actually survived the next blow off top. So it was something interesting, like only, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I'll just throw around some rough numbers. Like say 40% of the 2017 bubble coins actually are moving this cycle, and something like only 1 or 2%, like single digit percentage, are still alive now and reaching all-time highs that were blowing up in like 2014 in that bubble. So it's like, well, a lot of these just die, right? Like holding is a good strategy, but holding a piece of crap is probably not a good strategy. But you referenced some of the fitness videos, which I kind of want to get into that I had.
Totally, man.
Yeah, so I did the whole online coaching affiliate fitness links back in 2019. I was heavy into that, which was actually built my audience around that at first. So like 1,000 of my YouTube subs are those people, fitness people. And then the recent like 200-300 are you guys. So thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
But that leads kind of into the whole idea of talking to different circles and not just staying stuck in our little echo chambers, right? Because at the end of the day, if we want mass onboarding or to really impact, we can't just be, just talking to each other and not reaching out. So I think this should be a cool opportunity. Hopefully those people stuck around, because I stopped making fitness content for a while. Hopefully they're around and reaching out to you guys maybe, and following you guys too. That'd be pretty cool.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I know there's a lot of like military members or like former military. I know there's a lot of people that lift weights and whatnot. And the cool thing about it is kind of just the premise in general of Hex, or kind of just of anything, is that if you say you're going to do something, then you actually kind of stick to it, right? And we obviously know that that's the winning strategy with like health and fitness, that you don't just do it for one day, but that you do it consistently. And it's cool that you kind of had some of those videos, because I watched those. I thought they were well done, and it's obviously nice to have those kind of priorities, right? Because if you've got health as kind of like a priority, and you've also got other things like Hex as an asset that's working for you, well, then you want to be able to live for those 15-year stakes and those 10-year stakes. So to be able 100%. To get your lifestyle in check now and be able to do that consistently, that's definitely commendable and definitely inspirational for anyone.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's Tony Robbins, don't quote me on that. He has a 4-pronged system, which is in order: health, wealth, love, and impact. So it's like, get your health in check first, because that's really what matters. You've seen rich people just die because they don't take care of their health. So health, obviously, then you can take care of wealth. And once you're in that position to have freedoms, then you're more likely to probably attract a partner. So that's where love comes in. And then impact is, I guess impact can come at any point, really, but making an impact, something bigger than yourself, right, is really the end goal. So yeah, I think it's cool, man. I love what you do too. I think you stream like not every day, every week, right?
Yeah, it's like a couple times a week. So yeah, I stream once a week, and then I guess I'm in like a rotating stream circle between like a few other Hexicans, like about 4 other Hexicans on Tuesdays. But yeah, at least once a week on my channel.
Good stuff, man. Keep that up.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, even with yours as well. I mean, I noticed that I was kind of looking through this morning. Like I know I'd seen the first few videos that were kind of fitness related, and then like maybe the 4th or the 3rd video was the Hex related. And even since then, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, yeah, you've been doing a lot of consistent work. So I don't know if maybe I don't know if anyone can necessarily like see your screen or anything because of the camera integration, but maybe tell people, or maybe talk about where you think Hex is at in the market currently. I mean, I know you've been in Hex since day 2 or since a while, but like, what do you think? What do you think's going on? Do you have any thoughts with PulseChain or just any of it?
Yeah. There's a lot to get into there. Well, I'll definitely cover, I guess, where I think the price of Hex is going. I guess a market prediction. We can talk about Pulse. I do want to figure out this camera situation though. I think people are just seeing a gray screen on your end. I know.
Yeah.
On my YouTube, they can actually see my face, but let's see, camera. Is there a way to at least set an image, like a pretty image, so people don't see like a gray square?
I think so. Yeah, you should be able to do like camera settings. And are you on OBS?
Yeah.
You should. I haven't used OBS, but I know that there is like a drop down within like your native webcam, or there should be like another drop down in the camera settings that say like virtual OBS mod, something like that, and that might share the screen then.
Interesting. You know what? I don't want to waste people's time. Let's just keep chatting. So, oh man, I wish I could share my screen though. Okay. So first of all, market prediction, price prediction, Hex this cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you guys saw the exponential regression video, the regression rainbow, then you see that again, the top of that curve is only fit to like a single data point, and that's the May 2020 top. So I'm not sure how much the upper band makes sense. The lower band, however, is fit to a bunch of I guess, accumulation kind of bottoming zones. So, and we're actually touching it like right now. We're touching that lower bound, which I think is pretty interesting. Go to add camera internal webcam, I think. Let's see. I'll try to figure that out. But yeah. So again, the top of the band, not too sure. However, if we do just consider using that model by January 2022, so like end of the year, if we were to drop, say, one band, because we dropped an exponential regression band on the accumulation zones. And so I think we might be able to drop another exponential band on the bubble zone. So if we did something like that, it would be, let me see if I can look at it right now, anywhere from $1.67 to $2.75. And I think it's interesting that Hexo's prediction of $2.01 lies smack dab in the middle of that. So $2 if you're mega bullish, and that's kind of assuming you have this blow off top in say December. If we had like a 4-year market cycle, which I wasn't too keen on that for the longest time, but given this current kind of bull rally we've had, it's seeming more likely than it was before, because the people who kind of expected this lengthening cycle stuff, just look at the angle of attack of this current, like we haven't even tested the 20-week moving average on like Bitcoin or Ethereum for like since Bitcoin was like a 10K. So angle of attack is different. Market conditions are different. Money's being printed. I think even USDT like is now accepted in Coinbase. So you can just print extra dollars, in crypto and in actual dollars. So like everything's different, man. I don't know. If we're going to have a blow off top, a double cycle peak, or a double peak cycle, some people are speculating we might have, end of the bull market this summer. If that were the case, then I think the regression rainbow predicts like 50 cents. So if we have a near-term bubble, maybe 50 cents. If it takes longer, maybe December, maybe $1, $2. If it takes us until maybe next year, maybe even higher than that. So kind of the longer before a blow off top, kind of the prettier we'll be sitting. But that's kind of my, I guess, predictions for Hex. How about yourself?
Totally. I mean, yeah, you bring up a lot of good points, right? That, yeah, not every cycle is the same, and not always is it the harsh blow off top. That, yeah, maybe there are more legs to it, kind of like Richard has alluded to, or even like you mentioned with even the USDT and things like that. I mean, I think that, yeah, Hexo's prediction, the 201 value, I think that's very feasible. Even in the beginning of Hex, when it was just so many zeros and then a digit, even like 1 penny was like, man, this will be like miraculous if we can get to this price. And then lo and behold, we hit 2x that at the end of the year. So I definitely think, yeah, in the dollars, multiple dollars type thing, Gunther had done a stream with Blue Bum where he was talking about, and I think this was kind of like when Richard got into it, but Bitcoin had went from like sub penny to $30, and that was the blow off top was $30, and then it went down to $2. So so many ways that it could go. But
I would love to ask Richard like just how that felt, because I know he helped make the $30 top, and I think he was a multimillionaire by that point already. So I'm assuming he threw a pretty penny into Bitcoin at the time, and then he was mining blocks at like 25 cents. So I'm just curious. That's like a mix of emotions, and I would love to ask him someday like how those years went, because it's not just like a day. It takes years sometimes for this stuff to recover. I kind of want to rant.
Totally.
I'm kind of like that.
No, I mean, I think a lot of us are like that too, and yeah, I like the way that the conversation's going. I mean, when you kind of mentioned even Richard kind of being an OG and mining 50 Bitcoin block rewards with his GPUs, and that was a long ass time ago. Like that was, he mentioned like the first quarter of 2011. That's like 10 years ago. And it's cool to see that when I got into crypto in like early 2017, it was like March and April that I got into Litecoin and some of the other cryptos, nice. Ethereum and Bitcoin, and then kind of went down the altcoin shithole. But long story short is Richard is like the most OG person that I know, aside from the name like Satoshi, right? That is actually around. And so it's interesting to see the pattern that a lot of the quote unquote like OGs from 2013, 2014, or even before, none of them are necessarily doing what Richard is doing, which is like solving problems and finding solutions, even doing what Ethereum can't do. Like Ethereum, I'll give to their advantage that it's been around for a while and they're working through the proof of work to proof of stake system change. But it's cool to see that people like Richard have kind of like taken initiative already to kind of do what Ethereum 2.0 wants to do, but with PulseChain, and that'll kind of be like native within Pulse. And Richard's definitely an ambitious person. And if there's any person similar to like Peter Thiel when he was interviewed a long time ago about Elon Musk with PayPal, they said like, would you ever bet against Elon Musk? And the answer is no. And same thing with like Richard Hart. I would never bet against him. He's very iconic and very, knows how to recognize patterns and knows how to recognize flaws within the system. So shout out to him for doing a fork.
He's a genius. I mean, plain and simple, right? Like, I think it was he mentioned that he was not only using GPUs. I think he found a way to like string together multiple GPUs or something to mine even faster, overclock them or something. So yeah, shout out to him for making literally the best crypto of the decade, in my opinion. And with Pulse, so you want to parlay into that if you want.
Let's do it, man. Yeah, let's totally do it. I'm down.
Have you been in the Telegram chat?
I've been in a little bit here and there. I know kind of at the beginning of the stream, we covered a little bit of the information, like the pinned message where Richard talks about, he's already got blocks churning. He's talked about doing a 10,000 to 1 ratio. But there's a lot that he's covered. And even from the last stream, he kind of talked about that the design space and the design parameters are so massive and so wide with this airdrop that he needs like better input on how to cultivate it. So we covered a little bit of it.
Totally. Got you. Yeah. So I was in the chat a little bit. I saw what you saw. If you can explain a little bit, because I don't think I fully understood the whole 10,000 to 1 ratio. Okay. So if we have a dual token system, I'm assuming one of the tokens is the main utility token, and its aim is going to be cheap as hell, like for transactions, right? And then the other token would be Moon, because that's what matters in crypto. That's what actually onboards people, right? Oh yeah, you pulled it up. Thank you. So X holders would get free Pulse at a 10,000 to 1 ratio. So what is X? It's just the new token, the Moon token. Is that what we're talking?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know everything, but yeah, someone kind of mentioned that it seems like you'd be trading in maybe like an ERC20 token, maybe for X, and somehow that would start off, like Richard kind of mentioned, it's important that Pulse launches at $0 value, but above here, he kind of talks a little bit about the X, and that you might be, he says right here, you mint your own X coin. So obviously, if you're minting it, then there's some sort of involvement there, which honestly I don't know a whole bunch about. But
well, look at that first sentence. I think it'd be smart for people to sacrifice all kinds of crypto. That to me just screams general purpose adoption amplifier. It's like not only can you throw in your ETH, you can throw in your ADA, all your ERC20s. You can throw in, like, I don't hold any of that, but if you do, like, well, here's a place to like maybe not incur a taxable event by cashing out, but rather keep playing, I guess, like we said earlier, the roulette wheel, right? Like people who want to just stay exposed to crypto, but either divest or whatever. So I think that's really cool, because I think you mentioned it before, like this is going to be some insane price discovery and value discovery, because with the adoption amplifier with Hex, you had this, I don't know if I'm using the term bonding curve right, but I believe it means when you have a ratio set, like for example, Uniswap, when you have a ratio set between, different tokens, or in the adoption amplifier, you had a ratio set between how much ETH went in on any given day, how much Hex exited, and that kind of sets a value, even though there wasn't a market for it for the first 10 days or so. Like I think that's what he's talking about. So to be able to do that with multiple cryptos, I think is going to create some really insane, not only value discovery, but even arbitrage opportunity. It's going to be wild. I have no idea what to expect, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is a good point that you bring up. When I was kind of reading it, sometimes you don't necessarily comprehend everything as you're reading it. But yeah, you mentioned a very good point, the first sentence, that, yeah, being able to sacrifice all kinds of crypto for the X. So that does seem like you mentioned that, yeah, you might be, burning that for the X. And then, but yeah, it sounds like that there definitely is kind of there's an airdrop aspect of it. There's the possibility of like a dual token system. And yeah, that's definitely going to be quite interesting. When you mentioned the bonding curve, that X will have a bonding curve and other game theory parameters, Richard did mention, and Blue Bum kind of talked about this with Gunther, that in Adoption Amplifier, day one, it was significantly overvalued. And just from from an overall standpoint. And so some people, even Gunther mentioned, FOMO'd on day one, and then he didn't realize that day 33, 34, 35, was the best time to buy out of the 351-day launch phase. Well, Richard mentioned a little bit in his last 8-hour long live stream that he wanted to possibly do it the opposite this time, where the bonding curve might start with the people that got in the earliest and then phase out as it went to the end of the launch phase type thing. But that part's all definitely speculative as far as what happens. But I think the ambitiousness for him doing such a thing and going over the whole ETH system state is really cool. And it's something that no one else is doing. I mean, Richard did talk about it, I think, towards the last sentence, the second to last sentence, the first sentence, the largest airdrop in history of man is a big deal. So that's making history again with the forking of Ethereum.
No, for sure. I think the like you said, he doesn't want day one guys to get wrecked, or not wrecked, right? Because if you got in on day one on Hex, you're still up, but they were down for a while. You had this kind of post-launch dump for a minute. I find it interesting though, how are you going to combat that? He attempted to combat it in the adoption amplifier by having double the amount of Hex in the Hex bucket on day one, but it's still dumped. So maybe having a different multiple, a higher multiple of supply on day one for that kind of FOMO, that hype. So I guess don't expect day 30, day 50 to be the absolute bottom for this upcoming coin, but rather it could be day one. It might be the case that day one guys actually do the best this time. So that's kind of interesting to think. But if everyone thinks that and everyone tries to get in on day one, is it going to offset that? And are we going to have the same problem? So it's a dynamic system, and you can't really predict this stuff really. But yeah, the fact that he's copying or forking Ethereum and claiming that it might be you might have all of your ERC20s on Pulse, that's a big deal. It's like copying the playing field pretty much. So then you have a choice. And I think, like you mentioned earlier, it's going to be where the two halves add up to more than the whole, which, yeah, most likely, right? Because you have people getting to choose at this point, which is just generally a good thing.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting that right now the Ethereum network, or even right now, actually, the Ethereum fees the other day, yesterday, they weren't very high to say end of stake and stuff like that. But yeah, Richard kind of mentions that the fork will kind of do one of two things, where instead of a lot of the other contracts causing congestion in Ethereum, well, maybe the launch of Pulse will kind of reduce some of that congestion. And so it might lower the fees from that regard. And then for Ethereum Hex, and then you might have the lower fees from, say, Pulse Hex and whatnot too. But yeah, that's definitely very interesting. I know Richard has mentioned that at the end of this month, we'll kind of know some more. And I know even he's doing a live stream with the ladies of Hex and Sammy and all of those ladies at the end of the month. So who knows? I mean, with Richard and the three developers, maybe more, churning blocks and working on that, it might be out sooner than maybe we were initially told. I mean, that's all speculative, but seems like they're making good progress.
Yeah, yeah. I have a feeling he's gonna drop it on us, and we're gonna not really expect it, because people are gonna want to not front run, but like do whatever the action is necessary to get an airdrop beforehand. If it's something like just holding ETH or whatever, but yeah, he said himself, right? Like forking Ethereum is way easier than building Hex. Like for the most part, it's a lot of copy paste, changing some parameters, and you know, it could happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I know even a few people had kind of mentioned that we all know that Hex, since it's a smart contract on Ethereum, that all the code was compiled first and then it was audited and whatnot. But yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that. Richard talks about, since all of the Ethereum code itself is open source and you got the READMEs, that you can kind of verify that seems a little bit more simple, since other people have already been working on it for multiple years. So it seems that we're at quite a interesting time in the market itself, where Bitcoin's kind of cooling down a little bit. Ethereum's kind of pumping up a little bit. I mean, it almost seems, just from like, a 10-foot view, that it seems like we're almost kind of going into maybe some alts pumping up and whatnot, and Ethereum's pumping pretty decent, and Bitcoin's kind of cooling down, at least for the meantime.
Yeah, did you see that ETH BTC ratio? It just popped off the other day. Like,
Really
for ETH season, alt season, I think it went to 0.044 or something, which is generally a good sign for altcoins, I believe. I don't know. Would you consider Hex an altcoin? That's kind of a controversial question.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's always tough, right? Yeah, Bitcoin was always kind of the main, and from all the maxis, I'd always kind of considered like everything else aside from like BTC being an alternative coin. But yeah, I definitely would consider Hex an altcoin. See, the difference is that a lot of people don't realize is, like, sure, Hex is in ERC20, but it's also like a smart contract itself too. And a lot of people that are in the other ERC20s, like, just a lot of them don't have that kind of aspect. So it's like, it's different when they're trying to like compare it directly. But yeah, I would definitely say that it's probably like an ERC20.
For sure. Definitely. Hey, do we have any questions in the chat? I saw Brendan said we want moon math. Anything on your end?
Let me go to that. Yeah, we've got a handful of people in here. Let's see if I can get to Brennan. Well, I mean, I guess maybe if you'd already kind of read the comment of the moon math, I mean, yeah, you already kind of talk about it could hit a couple dollars and whatnot this year for Hex. That's definitely pretty bullish, right? If we do anything like we did last year with the 300 something X, then yeah, with a dollar, multiple dollars.
Think about, like, with most coins, peak to peak, you see diminishing returns over the course of their lifetimes. And even not, let's say, what was, let me try to do some math here. I mean, we did, what did we do last year? Like 400X or something in Hex?
I know Richard's thanks is like 388X and something odd days, but yeah, it was close to that. Yeah, pretty much.
So even if we have diminishing returns and just do 100X this year from where we started or the bottom of this year, that would still put us at like 60 cents to $2. So a lot of these models kind of converge if you look at them, like you said, a 10-foot view.
Totally. And then, I did have... Oh, go ahead, please.
Sorry, I was just saying, and we don't know how Hex performs in a bear market either. Like, you see it correlated on some days, decorrelated on other days, but then you have to take into account that liquidity shifted from the ETH pair to the USDC pair. So it's like, well, that probably plays a role in correlation, and it's kind of hard to tell, but I'm really curious to see how it'll perform in a bear market.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Brennan in the comments did kind of weigh in on the altcoin thing. And I agree with his standpoint. And this is why I never like to say like, hey, I'm the only one that knows everything, because I definitely don't. But that's the cool thing kind of about doing these streams, is you get to hear input from people when like, oh yeah, we agree with this, or, oh, maybe this is different. But yeah, he definitely says Hex is an altcoin. That's absurd. It's a logic contract. It's its own thing. Altcoin is such a ridiculous term to me. So he's got that. And then did want to cover real quick, since we can't necessarily like see your screen right off bat, we do have I think it's this one. So yeah, this is kind of like the Ethereum Bitcoin chart that maybe you're talking about. Do you normally look at the weekly or things like that? But you can kind of see, was this what you're talking about with the alt season type thing?
You don't even have to consider Hex to be an altcoin for you to say like, if ETH goes up, Hex might go up. Like I said earlier, liquidity kind of shifted from ETH to USDC, so maybe that's less the case than it was before. But I mean, I don't know. It's semantics at the end of the day. Alternative coin assumes there's one main coin, which if you look at market cap, sure, the top dog is Bitcoin, but you know the whole meme of Bitcoin as an altcoin, like. At the end of the day, it's really just semantics, memes, narratives. So, I mean, I'm not too. I told you it was a controversial question.
Totally, man. Totally. Well, yeah. I guess. What else do you have? So, I mean, so for someone like yourself, and for me, knowing about more of your story, you've been in Hex very early, like a lot of us OGs have. Have you changed any of your staking strategies since you first started? Because I know that, when I first started, like some of the first stakes were, say, like a penny or 2 pennies to start it. And even to end it was like a couple of pennies. Have you changed any of your staking parameters with like the maximization of T-shares, or have you done any ladders or anything that you can kind of weigh in on in regards to how things like that have changed?
Let's see. I'll be real with you. Earlier on in Hex, I didn't fully understand how it worked, and I completely misunderstood Big Payday. I thought it was going to be something like you stake and whatever your Big Payday bonus is, you get it paid liquid that day. I didn't know it was going to be applied to your stake. And then it just took like a few weeks, and I was like, wait, that would be a crazy supply shock. And then I started learning how it actually worked and realized that you don't get your BPD liquid on that day, but rather it gets added to your current stakes. So with that misunderstanding of how it worked, it led me to put some stakes pretty far out, some pretty big amounts, and which in retrospect, it's a good thing, right? But with that said, I do have some longer ones, and so I don't really have that much, I guess, liquid to be playing with and be making new staking ladders. So in summary, like I haven't made any new stakes recently because it's all kind of staked out farther. But I mean, that might change in the future. I have no clue.
Totally. I know what you mean too. Like when Hex kind of first came out, I mean, December 2nd is, when I think the free claim was, or maybe that was the first day of the AA. But yeah, I had a very similar scenario where Richard he had done almost a stream every day, it seemed, before the launch phase itself, and was talking about like how the adoption amplifier was kind of based off of the EOS 351-day launch phase. Right. And anyways, I kind of had a similar aspect too, where I was like, I don't necessarily understand this T-share stuff or anything else to the fullest extent, and I don't think Richard did either. At the beginning, we kind of all learned progressively, but yeah, same here where some of my best stakes were the earliest ones that were just the longest out, but Hex definitely is that like long-term, 401k or like, kind of CD equivalent that Richard kind of talks about, where the longer stakes definitely earn you the most interest, since it kind of compounds over time, but it also like saves yourself from yourself, because I've never had the ultimatum of like, hey, if you said you're going to do this, then you better stick to it. Otherwise, if you try and, renege on what you said you're going to do, you're going to be penalized significantly. So I really kind of like that aspect about Hex. And I think a lot of us Hexicans share that in familiar that a lot of us, we were able to hold up to what we said we were going to do. So the stakes holding out to that is kind of something we can all share in common.
Of course, man. Like it forces you to hold. The hard lock is due to that truth engine. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a hard lock, right? And the penalties being so severe just further emphasize that. There was a comment right now that I kind of wanted to talk about. If you can pin it on there. This guy, totally. Tiago, says, I don't see Hex being $1 this year. Market cap is a psychological barrier. Sadly, we have ETH as being that barrier. So I wanted to touch on that. So let's assume Bitcoin reaches a blow off top of, I don't know, 100K this year, 150K. What would that put its market cap, like 3 trillion or so, 2-3 trillion. Ethereum tends to move up 2x on average as much. So let's play with 150K Bitcoin. That's a 3x from here. So Ethereum would be 6x from here. So let's say 12K or 13K.
Mm-hmm.
What would that put Ethereum's market cap at? Close to $1 trillion. So we have Bitcoin at like 2-3 trillion. We have Ethereum at 1 trillion. And so Hex at $1 would just be a 569 billion. I think that's the supply. So if each one is $1, it would put it at half of Ethereum. And assuming something like BNB or Tether or Trash XRP, assuming none of those kind of get in the way, we could easily see a $1 Hex and still have it be top 3, top 4, top 5 coin. So I don't agree with that comment at all. Actually, I partially agree with it. The fact that it is a psychological barrier to have Hex flip anything like ETH and Bitcoin. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it is the psychological barrier. That I do agree with. But given kind of the thought experiment I just gave, we could see Hex being at $1 and not even be number 1 or 2. It doesn't even have to flip Bitcoin or Ethereum to be there. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I definitely agree. Yeah, I mean, especially with all the other kind of market caps, I definitely agree with that, Matt, that you kind of mentioned there. I was going to say I was kind of looking for the Tiago's comment as you were mentioning it, but maybe it's on your restream side of the things.
Yeah, it's on my
YouTube
channel.
Okay. I don't think it'll let me show it because it just kind of shows the the channels that I'm broadcasting on, but. Right. We'll definitely have to, tamper maybe with a little bit of things next time.
Definitely
we'll get the camera going and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's always great to hear input from the other people as well. Speaking of input, Scotty does know. Good to see you, man. He says, I don't see $1 Hex this year either. I realistically see a moon target around 30 cents. So. Even 30 cents from here is definitely pretty good, like a 16, 17x, something like that, almost a 15x. So that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. I mean, do you really see? Sure, like that's a nice price target, 30 cents. I'm sure that would make a lot of people happy, a lot of people newly minted millionaires. But do you really think a 400x on the year prior and then only seeing like a 30x this year? Diminishing returns by a whole order of magnitude. I don't know, man. That seems like quite the steep decline all of a sudden.
Well, and just like we were talking earlier, that it's really interesting because a lot of people just look at like market cap solely as a figure, and it's interesting when Richard kind of talks about that being almost like a arbitrary number because of the way sometimes it can be calculated. But anyways, it is interesting that in the beginning, I remember I was watching Hexologist and I was like, oh man, this guy's streaming every day. Like, that's awesome. And then him talking about, if we can reach a penny, then that's great. And I'm kind of more along with the similar thinking for yourself. And not everyone has like a crystal ball. And this is obviously just speculation, but I'm kind of the opinion as well that we might be very well surprised this year with what kind of happens within the next 365 days when it comes to that kind of pumpage. And you also mentioned, like, who knows what happens with Hex in a bear market. And honestly, even with the December 2nd, 2019 launch, like we were kind of like getting out of the bear market, the ETH bear market then. Like I remember Ethereum was like $80 to $120, and it was slowly climbing its way up. And then now you look at it and it's like, man, those were really the glory days, and it's so cool that if anyone was able to capitalize on those opportunities. But then I think like, well, what's it going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now? And I think that anyone that even has like the slightest of complaint, I think they'll all be very satisfied if they can just, keep their bags and, be patient with the gains as they come, because you never know when the God whale is going to spend, 10,000 ETH in one buy. But we see that a lot with Hex, that it kind of has its like Wyckoff thing where it kind of consolidates and then just has a huge pump up, which a lot of people look at.
Right, and you see the recent like bull flag forming into the 0.0 or 1.5 penny region. Like holy shit! Like 2-3 months ago, you could have only dreamed about that, and now people are like, "Oh no, I'm down 20% from last weekend," and it's like, bro, chill, hold, relax, it'll be okay. Again, not financial advice, but I think people need to have more patience. But they just easily normalize like. They just forget, man. They just forget.
That is true. I mean, and from what I could see when I was watching your videos, when you're looking at, and by the way, you do really good work. I mean, for anyone that hasn't seen his channel, it's going to be linked in the description. I think it already is, but y'all should definitely follow. Is that how you say it? Just Gerardo?
Yeah, that's how you say it.
Okay, cool, nice. But yeah, you guys should definitely follow Gerardo. I mean, similar to you kind of remind me of like Whales Only, who's also in the chat. But like when he first came onto the scene, he had made one video just because he had made one stream, I should say, because there was some confusion within the consensus of the Hex market that he had noticed, the community. And anyway, so he makes a stream, and then all of a sudden people are like, man, we've never kind of seen this kind of analysis. Like, sure, we all thought that $1 is possible, or XYZ was possible, but now this is kind of the data that's showing it. And so yeah, I definitely want to just also like say that your channel as well kind of shows and paints like the more broader picture as well. So like when you're looking at the data and the stuff like that, you're more so looking at the version 1. Is that correct? Uniswap version 1?
So I get my actual price data from Nomics, their historical data tab. You can do that with any coin. Okay. So it really depends on how they get their price data. I'm assuming they aggregate or average across whatever exchanges they find to be the most reputable. I don't know if they do a weighted average. Like I have no clue. The exact formulas they use to get your price data for Hex, but I use their data. I'm assuming everything up to like May or whatever of 2020 is V1, because I think that was the highest liquidity market for Hex for that time. So whenever we look at the Hex price in my data models, it's most likely kind of like a Frankenstein of all sorts of exchanges. But I'm not sure. It depends on Nomics for sure.
Okay, right. And then also when I'm seeing your channels, are you doing some of the charts and the graphs? Like, are you doing that in Excel?
It's Google Sheets, so it's pretty much Excel but free.
Where did you learn that skill? Because I was on stream one time with Whales, like when he maybe like a few weeks after he first started, and he's showing me Excel, not even using the mouse, just the keyboard and the arrows, but. Where did you maybe learn some of that experience where you're kind of able to translate that into crypto? Like, where did you learn that from?
Great question. And thanks for the plug, by the way, for the channel. So I actually studied math, physics, and engineering back in university. So I was able to translate a lot of that knowledge into crypto, just math in general, statistics, spreadsheets. My introduction to programming was with this one software called MATLAB, Matrix Laboratory. So it kind of allows you to do math with data sets. And so there was a lot there that you can translate, just modeling in general, being able to use, software programming. Like if you guys saw the heat map, I had to relearn some Python for that, which again, it's not it's not too hard if you're kind of into that. You're kind of what do they say, left brained for the most part. I tend to be more like that. So definitely math, physics, and engineering studies helped a lot with translating that over into crypto.
Nice, man. And I don't know if you feel comfortable. Do you mind telling people like where you studied at, or is that a little bit too personal? Cool. Yeah, we can definitely skip that. But yeah, Brennan says Excel Masters in Hex. So yeah, definitely wanted to shout you out because didn't know where you learned that from, but you definitely have the Excel skills. And have you ever chatted with Whales Only by chance? Gerardo, you still there? Okay. He just cut out for a second, but he's going to come back in. So yeah, first off, want to just say shout out to Gerardo, right? I'm just going to pull up his channel for anyone that hasn't seen him. Like I said, shout out to Hex streamers and documenting Hex, right? Because that person is first off not only like super on top of the game, but they're kind of one of the people that I discovered Gerardo from. And so I'd actually been following him for a while, but then realized, oh, didn't even know he makes videos. So without further ado, he is back. So I'm going to see if I can repeat the questions. Can you hear me? Can you hear me back?
Yeah. My computer
cool.
just took a shit. I don't know what happened.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no worries. Just wanted to say, so yeah, that's awesome that you studied that in college, man. The translation and the work definitely applies, and it definitely transfers over. Have you ever chit-chatted with Whales Only?
A lot of people commented that I should stream with him. We messaged each other once on Twitter, I believe, in a group chat. I don't think he ever responded, but I'm sure he's a busy guy. But I think it would be cool to do a stream with him for sure. I know some of you guys do really, really long streams, so I don't know if I could stick around for hours, but hey, there he is in the chat. We plan to. All right, man. Yeah, I think I said once more Pulse news official updates from Richard comes out, then we might have more hype just around the space in the community, maybe more viewers, and obviously more eyes help. I think we might wait a little bit on that. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's cool. I mean, I was watching Blue Bum. He had a stream with Gunther that was kind of doing an audit on the origin address, and I think it's really cool when some of the Hexicans that are like-minded, like with maybe yourself and Whales, kind of being like Excel masters and like quant game, masters. Your quantitative analysis in Excel, but even people like Gunther and like Silver the Antidote that are good at reading like chain analysis and stuff like that. Like the more you can have someone that has a similar skill set and kind of like when you're weightlifting and you got someone that's a spotter or someone that can kind of help you lift with. You guys definitely could probably bounce ideas off of each other. And anyways, I think that would be a great symbiosis and combination. Whenever you guys got the time, I think what you guys are doing really breaks down what a lot of us Hexicans know, but can't maybe put it into the charts and the graphs like you guys do. So definitely go see Gerardo and Whales Only for that, because you guys do a great job, and the analysis itself is very very easy to look at.
Yeah, thank you. I think there would be some synergy there. I think we would be able to have some good combos there for sure. You mentioned something though, that audit on the OA. That was interesting. That was interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I don't mean to bash on his work or anything, but
sure, yeah,
it's pretty simple, I think, to see how much the OA had in supply just by the big payday events that happened. If you remember, there was like 10% staked of total supply, and then by big payday there was 98%.
Right.
So what's the difference? 88% ownership.
Yeah.
And like, I love that he went through all that work because chain analysis is absolute hell. And I don't know if I could sit through something like that, but I think ultimately he found something along the numbers of like 88%, 87% ownership. Or what were the numbers, if you can update us?
Yeah, let me pull it up. I've got someone's tweet right here. Let's see here. So this is it right here. Of liquid, 95.56%. Of the T shares, it's 18.03 from what Gunther did. And yeah, the most important kind of thing, like you mentioned with verifying people's stuff, he does have that Excel sheet public on, I think it's just hex.com, search for Gunther. But yeah, that is a good point that you mentioned, because I think a lot of us, and honestly, I wasn't too surprised that it happened. But when it happened, it was like, okay, there's definitely, the whales coming in for this. But it was interesting to see the whales, or maybe, the OA kind of staking for just the big payday itself. And then that was it, like just the big payday. And then it didn't stake anymore to dilute the shares. So some people were kind of like not too sure how to feel about that, but kind of like Richard's mentioned, like, yeah, if you could get that much interest for just staking for one day, why wouldn't everyone do such a thing?
I loved that the OA did that. Absolutely loved it, because if you look at the price dip after big payday, it was pretty gnarly. Just imagine if people who had just planned to dump that day had gotten the single day percentage returns that they expected, and then just dumped that. We probably would have gone back to levels not seen since, like, it would have dumped harder, I think. So I think when whales go in and stake like that, like the OA did, it's kind of like a price moat, like a protection mechanism, to where if, like, the design intention was for you to stake out in gaps where other people aren't staked. And we saw that everyone was staked for that day to unstake the day after, which goes against the design intention. So it makes sense to have a benevolent whale ready to be like, yo, you guys aren't using this right. We don't want a supply shock, so I'm going to dilute you guys so you don't kill the price. And just in general, I think anytime, if we were to see something like that in the future, like a huge, just everyone trying to unstake on the same day, I think a benevolent whale like the OA would front run that with even bigger stakes to dilute them and prevent kind of like a supply shock and just dump.
It's so true. And when I saw that, like at first I wasn't too sure kind of what was going on. And just like with like T-shares, for me specifically, it took a little while to grasp everything. But then when I realized, okay, I knew some people personally that I'd gotten into Hex they had kind of seen that big payday was like the main event, and they wanted to dump that day too. And the person specifically sold it like 58% of a penny. And I try and tell them now, like, man, if you would have just held on, you'd be up like even 3x from where we're at now. But the point is that the way that the OA strategically staked, it took away some of the coins that the dumpers thought that they were going to get. And at the end of the day, like you mentioned, it's cool that, sure, we've got a slower velocity of money where, it's incentivized for people to lock it up for long periods of time, which burns it off the market. But there was a lot of people that were planning to dump that day, and that even did dump that day. But you mentioned a very good point, that even if the OA hadn't staked, there would have been significantly more dumpage than just 20% of a penny, So that's a very good point that you bring up. And it's an interesting strategy and tactic that I don't think a lot of us saw coming, but ever since it did, it's like, okay, this is benevolent, and they do have our back, and they've got the back of Hex long term. And so that's why I think even with what Richard's doing with Pulse and whatnot, like, it's just really cool to see the development, because he could have stopped a long time ago. He's been in Bitcoin since, as we talked about, early 2011. Like, he didn't have to do all this other stuff, but now that he has, it really puts not a nail in the coffin, but yeah, really just kind of shows some of the competitors like Bitcoin and Ethereum, like, better get your head out of your ass. You better start doing stuff that you said you were going to do. Otherwise, the newer, younger kid on the block, Pulse and Hex and stuff like that, is coming for your lunch. And that's what seems to be happening with even Ethereum and some of the Ethereum competitors is people people want that new kid on the block that they can kind of bet on.
Totally, man.
So cool, man. Yeah, I guess, do you have anything that like maybe I haven't asked you about that you kind of want to cover? I know I've kind of done a lot of the talking, but your videos themselves are very in depth and the analysis is great. But do you have anything for maybe like people that are just hearing for you the first time, or people that are Hexicans that, I don't know, might want to hear something from someone like yourself that knows about the quantitative side? I mean, I know before our stream you did a video, right, that was like the golden cross. Like, since we can't necessarily see your screen right off bat, do you maybe want to like tell people what you see in that kind of range maybe?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, if you haven't watched the video, go check that out. Just Hex Golden Crosses. It's the last one I did, uploaded it today. It pretty much just covers what a golden cross is. I'm sure a lot of you guys know it's when the 50-day moving average crosses the 200-day moving average. And we haven't seen that since last year is when it happened. I believe it was around October. And we had the 50-day cross at 200-day, first ever golden cross on Hex, which led up to the run up from 40% of a penny up to 1.5 pennies. So that was a nice little formation you could have called. But yeah, we've been above both. So since October. So that's the golden cross is something a lot of people use to determine whether we're in a bear or a bull market for any given asset. And then being above the 200 is another requirement. Being above the 50 is just a cherry on top. So I know we're testing it now, the 50-day moving average. So hopefully we can hold that. If not, that doesn't necessarily mean a death cross is incoming, but then that's when the curvature would start curving down of the 50. There you go. Yeah, of the 50-day.
This is kind of just like a copycat from your stream.
No,
I saw your stream and I was like, dude, this guy knows his shit, man. Let's copy this. So yeah,
wait, okay. It's all bull flags?
Pretty much, yeah, right. It is, yeah, it pretty much is all bull flags, yeah, pretty much up and to the right.
Yeah, so that pretty much just illustrates it. We had that measly little death cross that lasted like barely a month, and price was above both. Yeah, you're looking at that the September ascending triangle right there. Yeah. So again, we're far ways away from a death cross. We would have to go down to like the 1 penny region, which it's not out of the picture completely. I have no clue what's going to happen. I'm sure no one really does. But if you just look at the most simple of TA, just support resistance zones, I mean, this looks like a textbook macro ascending triangle if you really look at it. Right. It's just so nice. It looks so good.
No, that's awesome, man. It's definitely pretty cool. And even one of the other gentlemen, CCFX Studio, Johnny Kayasi, he kind of talks about that. A lot of people that are in the comments now and in the chat now have been in, Hex for as long as you or I have, or just been in early, and you don't necessarily think that, yeah, Hex can go to $1 and stuff like this, but it is almost like that not the hindsight bias, but it is almost just a bias in general that, like, yeah, sure, you got coins that are cheap, but this technology itself and the way that it's designed can pump significantly more than you expect. So it's pretty cool the way that you mentioned that, and I look forward to future videos from you, and maybe even future streams where we can kind of go over that specifically, like you show the chart itself, that it's pretty much all bull flags, and then you look at the go.hex.com share rate kind of market cap type deal, and that's all bull flags, like you mentioned too. And I've never seen anything that was done so well where it's got that kind of chart where it's just it's just constantly looking better and better, whereas some charts kind of have peaks and valleys, and then it looks good. But Hex always seems to be doing that up and to the right, like the logo does. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. I think everyone on the stream here wants to see Hex go up. I don't know if there's really any incentive to see it dump. I mean, other than the guys that want to buy it cheaper. But then again, those if you've loaded up your bags early, you don't really care that much about that anymore because you're just getting less coins. And yeah. I mean, so do
No,
you
that's
have
a
any
good
more
point.
kind of like, so what did we cover? We covered Hex price prediction, covered a little bit of Pulse, a little bit of my background. I should have made notes for this. Anything else you wanted to cover? Because I do want to stay on until Hexo's on.
Yeah, that was one thing I was meaning to message you on. So it looks like from what I saw from Hexo's most recent tweet, so he would normally go around like an hour from now, but then I looked at his tweet and he's saying that he's got some renovating going on, like got people working around the house, and so he said he might be streaming a little bit later than his normal time, and might be doing a more condensed version for the next few days or a few weeks. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, honestly, that's pretty much all the questions I had. I mean, yeah, you've done a great job. Kind of, it's really cool to hear from people like yourself that have been around since day one. And I guess the other question I want to ask is, you mentioned kind of like your story being in crypto since 2017 and whatnot, and clearly you mentioned also being in Hex since a couple of days in or since day one. But how did you hear about Richard in the first place?
Man, I watch a lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of YouTube. I can't remember the exact moment. I wouldn't be able to tell you like this is the day it all changed.
Right.
I somehow stumbled across his channel. Man, it must have been the long streams that caught my attention. Mm-hmm. Looking back, just the 2, 3, 4 hour streams, because I'm the type of guy who just has content on in the background while I'm doing stuff. I might have 4-hour podcast while I work on whatever I'm working on. And it just must have been something like that. I can't exactly remember when or what video it was, but yeah, the man can stream for hours, and I find that really respectable. And like you said, he could have just, like, the OA has millions of ETH, right? Mm-hmm. Assuming no wash trading, like some people were saying, oh, the OA is recycling ETH. Like, I haven't seen proof of chain analysis of recycling in the AA. I don't think it really makes a huge difference if it were the case or not. But again, I don't see any proof of that. But like you said, he could have ran off the OA, whoever that is, with at this point billions of dollars, but he's still making 4-hour, 5-hour streams. Like, again, I'm not saying Richard Hart is the OA, but I'm not saying he's not.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I have no clue.
No, I know what you mean. I mean, the first thing that kind of the reason I kind of first found out about Richard, because I was in, like I mentioned, Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum around March and in April of 2017, and then I remember hearing about pretty quickly, because I discovered Bitcoin from Reddit, and then found out that it wasn't just like Reddit where the crypto place was, but that there was like crypto Twitter, and so I was like, man, I've had Twitter since like 2009, but never really used it. It wasn't really my thing, but that was kind of what inspired me to get back on Twitter, was that there was like a whole ecosystem of people. And then the thing that kind of got me to like find out about Richard was whenever I hear someone like just majorly like, when they're like kind of slandering or they're crap talking someone, for me, as someone that's more like investigative or wants to like verify, I'm always like, okay, let's see if what that person said is true. Because like the sentiment that I got a lot from other Bitcoin maxis or just other altcoiners was Richard was, not the best guy. And so I'm glad I did do my own research at that time, because, like you mentioned, you had seen some of Richard's long streams, and if someone was to do, if all the slander that the naysayer said was correct, then why would Richard be doing these long live streams and answering everyone's questions and staying in, and why has the OA never sold? So those are all very interesting things that it makes you realize, like, man, don't listen to everything that you hear. And especially like even now, like even the influencers of like 2017 that are now the same influencers of 2021, they always say like, oh, do your own research, but then they'll like gatekeep against certain things like Hex. And it's like, man, I wish that their audience, I would hope that their audience was actually smart enough to take those words of advice to actually do their own research. Because just like with anything in general, you need to like verify that the information is legit.
Of course. And you're smart. Like smart people do their own research. Smart people don't just take other people's word and just like trust but verify, right? Or I'll be honest, I think I'm lucky or fortunate that I wasn't following any of these people who were throwing shade, slander, talking crap on Richard. Like I never really saw much of that. Maybe I was able to curate who I followed pretty well, but I never really saw any of that. So I wasn't polluted with any weird ideas. I just kind of formed my opinion via his streams, you know, not really other people talking about him. So we have some people in the chat. What did they say? Did you guys see Reggie Middleton's stream today and the report they released on Hex? I'm assuming he's talking about the audit. Do you think Hex will lag out because of the Ethereum fees? Yes. Yes, I do. I think Ethereum in general and all ERC20s kind of had this, like, if high gas fees are because of high demand, right? Or at least that's one part of it. And so it's this weird scenario where if the demand gets too high, gas fees get too expensive, it makes sense for demand to start kind of decreasing. And some people claim that the end of Ethereum's bull run in 2018 was because of gas fees with like CryptoKitties and all that. So didn't CryptoKitties break Ethereum for a bit? Like not break, but just kind of make it super expensive and slow.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, every network, even Bitcoin, but especially Ethereum with CryptoKitties was being congested like crazy.
So if but with Pulse though, and other solutions for gas prices and gas fees, it could provide another leg up for Ethereum and all ERC20s. Like it's interesting. I guess we'll see. But just answering that question.
No, totally. And like the one thing that Richard had even talked about that was like recently implemented from what he had mentioned was that in Ethereum they had like MEV, like miner extracted value, where these people would kind of like have bots that would compete against the arbitrage opportunities, and they would bid up the gas prices a whole bunch because they would make the difference of the arbitrage retail. And so yeah, Richard had kind of mentioned that there was some sort of implementation that was done recently on that kind of lowered the the arbitrage that was happening. But yeah, it is a point that people bring up where like the networks themselves are, for the most part, they're not always going to be like completely congested, and even if they are, then I guess that's why we have people like Richard working on other solutions and implementations that can benefit everyone. So I think that's pretty cool that even though Richard has been gatekept and poorly treated by some of the other communities, that this is in that pinned message on Telegram that it would be like the largest airdrop that the world's ever seen or crypto has ever seen. And I think that's quite a major deal and major wave that could really show the community and even the people on Ethereum like kind of like what the second mover is doing, and maybe people see like what the Pulse/ERC20 tokens are doing, and maybe they make their decisions then. But either way, whatever we got going in the market and the day-to-day stuff, it's all very interesting and all cool to be a part of.
Yeah, this Pulse thing could be huge. It could be massive. Like, I kind of want to get your take on it. Have some fun here with some speculation. Okay, totally. So with Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, obviously Bitcoin Cash wrecked. Bitcoin won that battle. With Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, Ethereum Classic got wrecked. The original blockchain and the fork actually prevailed. And so you have kind of case studies for both. Right, with BCH, it did have higher throughput. With I'm not sure actually with the ETH ETC fork if if one of them had higher throughput or not. I know it's just kind of proof
Right.
of work debate. So which blockchain do you think will prevail in terms of Ethereum or Pulse, and also the Hex on Ethereum and Hex versus Pulse? Just a hot take.
Totally. I mean, honestly, myself is kind of biased because I've listened to a lot of Richard's streams, and Richard's kind of mentioned the possibility too. But I definitely could see, and not saying I will or won't do this, but I could definitely see a lot of the Pulse Hex going up to a higher value than, say, the ETH Hex, because at the end of the day, if it's going to be less expensive to transact, to stake, to end stake on PulseChain, then you're going to get the most economic value. As long as the price is still higher or equivalent, you're going to get the most economic value out of the thing that gives you less fees. And I don't know, from what I see with Ethereum, I still think that here's the thing that I don't see. I don't see like the value just dropping down or like going to zero, quote unquote, with the ETH Hex. I still think it's going to, maybe be at the same price that we're at now, if not, continue to progress higher as well. But I just see that if you've got one network that is more expensive to end the stakes and more expensive to do certain things, maybe other people with less economic energy, maybe they put that energy into things like Pulse. I mean, myself, yeah, I'm going to have some liquid Hex, and so that's going to be copied on to Pulse as well. So personally, I could see this being not like the Bitcoin Cash, but being like the latter where yeah, Pulse is going up higher than, say, Ethereum. But that is definitely just my thumbs in the air.
Nice. So you're leaning more towards the fork, aka Pulse might beat out Ethereum. Okay, for sure. There's just so much nuance, right? That's why I kind of wanted to bring this up, because I remember I was watching an old RH live stream, and he said something that at first I thought it contradicted with what he's doing right now, but then I kind of looked into it a bit more and realized the nuance. He was saying, would Hex have gone up as much as it did if it were built on something other than Ethereum? No, because the majority of the price appreciation came from Ethereum whales dumping their Ethereum for Hex and driving the price up. And so having Hex on a different blockchain kind of goes against that. But then again, are you rewarding Ethereum whales, I guess, or just Ethereum holders in general for going on to Pulse? Because if you do, then you have sort of, I guess, an incentive bridge for the same guys who pumped ETH Hex to pump Pulse Hex. So it's not an easy question, right? There's a lot going on. I'm just really excited. Only time will tell, right?
Me too, and yeah, that's a very good point too. That especially with the end of the month being so soon, and it's hard with things that are so exciting like Pulse not to be like, what's going to happen and all the speculation. But yeah, it's definitely something that yeah, like you mentioned, the points are nuanced, but it is kind of fun to talk about and speculate, and even the breadcrumbs that Richard's kind of mentioned on T.me /PulseChain.com, like the fact that they've already got a testnet running and churning blocks and stuff like that is pretty cool, and yeah, might signal that yeah, maybe we are sooner than the 6-month prediction that he originally gave. But yeah, either way, I think it's going to be a really big deal, because at the beginning when the Bitcoin free claim came out for Hex, a lot of people were saying like, oh, if you free claim with your Bitcoin keys that you're going to get doxxed, you're going to lose your private keys, even though it was just a signature that you were doing, just signing a transaction. But I think with things like Pulse, since it's going out to everyone, it's just going to, you kind of mentioned that like your first videos are kind of health and fitness and stuff like that. And I think that's really awesome. And it's almost like a cross promotion that you mentioned, where like it's not just about Hex or fitness, but it's kind of all of it mingled into together. And so I think that even if nothing else, what Richard's kind of doing with airdropping all of them as opposed to just say Hex, I think that kind of cross promotion could could really, if nothing else, be like a significant advantage for things like Pulse compared to Ethereum, because a lot of the people, like you mentioned, say like the NFTs and whatnot that people would mint on Ethereum. You don't see as many people minting those things when it's $80 or $100 to do a CAD JPEG. So even with things like, yeah, okay, that's crazy, man. That's absolutely crazy.
But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I appreciate you saying something, but it just goes to show you like the crazy part that we're at of the market. But even people that wanted to do stuff like that, Richard had mentioned that he wouldn't necessarily completely like cross that off the list, because otherwise it wouldn't be decentralized. So he's going to kind of have, a myriad of, maybe all of the ERC20 tokens on there. And it's really exciting. And at the end of the day, I think we'll definitely know a lot more by the end of the month, but it's kind of fun to speculate.
For sure. And we'll have live streams, I'm sure, more in the future. Like I said, I'm planning to go live with, I think Wales said he's down in the chat. Looking to Crypto is down. So yeah, if anyone else is down, wants to hop on a live stream, then this year is, I guess, my debut on going live related to Hex. So for Lucky Brand got me on the debut. Everyone, I'm streaming too. So everyone who's watching on my YouTube and my Twitch, go ahead and follow Brand. He makes consistent videos, is able to chat for hours clearly. So asset to the community. And yeah, check out my Twitch as well. I have like 3 followers on there. So if you guys could pump that to the moon, that would be great. Restream obviously is able to give, there you go. You pulled it up.
So yeah, that's his YouTube channel. Yeah, Anthony, everyone else in the chat, good to see you there. And yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, it is cool to see kind of your, and I'll stop sharing just because it's creating a mirror, but it is cool to see your debut, and it's cool to see people like you have been around for a while too. And so it's always nice to bounce ideas off of each other. And sometimes when you're kind of talking with not the same people, but sometimes the ideas might be like, I don't know, I guess stale, right? So when you hear other perspectives and other people like yourself kind of bringing things to the market, or Wales, maybe you only intended to do one stream or a couple of videos, but now a lot of the other Hexicans have kind of latched on to that information and definitely are wanting to collab too. So yeah, man, I definitely would love to see those kind of collaborations. I mean, look into Crypto. He definitely has got some good stuff, and same thing with Wales Only. But I guess we've already covered a lot here. Do you have anything else you want to say, or should we wrap it up here? Anything else?
I could keep going if you can, if you're down.
I'm down. I mean, I guess what more to cover?
Well, I have some comments here in my YouTube chat.
Okay, yeah, please do, man.
Awesome. So someone said, what products that also get forked over do you guys realistically think will utilize the PulseChain and promote it? I think real DeFi like Hex, people who are actually using I think it's S-load function, right? Writing data. People who are, real DeFi, I think will have huge incentive to actually move over to Pulse. Also, non-gas optimized projects most likely will have incentive. So I can't name them off the top of my head because I don't really mess around with most of DeFi. But I think, real DeFi that actually does real business logic should have the biggest incentive to go over to Pulse. I have another comment here. I don't really like this comment, but I'm going to read it. Reggie's report implies Hex is a Ponzi pyramid, but stops short of declaring it to be so far for legal reasons. From what I've seen, he has a conflict of interest and doesn't understand Hex, willfully or otherwise. So thank you, Anthony, for the comment. A Ponzi pyramid. What does that even mean? Are there 2 different things? Which one is he referring to? I mean, we've seen RH kind of take down both arguments, right? But I think a huge argument is the low liquidity and the fact that if everyone wanted to cash out at once, they can't, which is the case for literally every single market. So by that argument, by that premise, you would say every market on the planet is a Ponzi, right? By that logic. So it's
Totally.
either like everything is or nothing is. Like pick one.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen kind of the recent interactions, and yeah, I guess just interactions with Reggie, and Richard kind of talks about it a lot, that like when that he'll kind of, you know, he's pretty open. He'll kind of clout chase up his game, right? He'll comment on people like Elon or people like Lex Friedman and stuff like that. But it seems like with people like Reggie that yeah, there's a, I don't know. I mean, it just seems like week one or month one FUD all over again, where Richard has clearly, first off, I mean, Hex is almost 2 years old and we've never had any problems with the SEC, right? The one of the people had specifically reported on like DeFi Pulse or something, had specifically reported Richard and Hex to the SEC. So, you know, clearly if there was any conflict of interest or any security or thing like that, Ponzi, then it would have already been you know, sussed out. So I guess that's all I want to say there is yeah, you know, one person has a successful product and the other person, you know, has something that's not. But I guess we're actually going to have to cut the stream a little bit short. As much as I don't want to, I guess Hexologist, he is live now, so I don't want to you know, stomp on his grounds or anything. But
no, amazing.
Yeah,
let's go ahead and rate him on Twitch if you want.
Totally, man. I'll share the screen as I do that, and yeah, man. You know, thanks for coming on, for doing your work too. It's really cool to you know, see people like, you know, yourself constantly, you know, busting out good information and providing a whole bunch of good stuff for Hexicans to digest and think about. And yeah, appreciate, you know, you being able to come on my channel for a debut, I guess, and it'll be cool to see you know, yourself on future streams as well. But yeah, your information is all tagged in the links below, your Twitter and your YouTube. I am going to put your Twitch as well, because I just found out about that. But yeah, definitely go check out Gerardo on Twitch as well. And yeah, do you have any final comments before we go over to Hexo?
Hey man, just I appreciate you having me on. I hope you get some good subscribers, some good follows out of this. I know my channel and Twitter have definitely been increasing thanks to your help and the community's help. This is an awesome community. You guys are super supportive, so obviously I appreciate that. Thanks for sharing all my stuff. Really means a lot. And yeah, just keep doing your thing. You're one of the few people who are actually younger, right, in the Hex space from what I'm seeing, right? And so I think it's cool that, you know, not only are, like, it's amazing to have all sorts of people, but I know that a lot of the guys that are streaming are on the older side, so it's cool to see someone kind of younger in the game. Yeah, man, time is on your side, on my side, on hopefully, if longevity is a thing soon, on everyone's side. But yeah, man, thanks for having me on. It was a blast, and I hope to do something like this in the future. Like you said, all our links are going to be in each other's descriptions and all that. I'll update mine because I don't think your links are in my description. My bad. Let me do that right now.
It happens. Yeah. No worries, man.
This will be uploaded so you guys can look back if you missed it. And I think that's it. Follow on Twitter, links in the description, and that should pretty much wrap it up.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks again for coming on. For everyone that's watching right now, Hexologist is live, so let's go follow him. We're rating him right now on Twitch, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again, Gerardo, for coming on, and go follow him if you haven't already. His Twitch will be updated in the description as well. His Twitter and YouTube are there. But till next time, guys, we'll see you next Tuesday for Nights at the Crypto Table, and thanks again, Gerardo, for being there.
Thanks so much, Brian. Talk soon.
Peace.